It's January the 26th, and this is Meet the Movie Press. Jeff is not here. I'm very lucky to have two special co-hosts. We've got so much to talk about, including this year's Oscar nominations. Be with you in just a sec.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's Meet the Movie Press.
We talk movies like fat kids eat cake. That's what we do here. It's Meet the Movie Press. It is January the 26th. I'm Simon Thompson. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at ShowbizSimon. And there's a Facebook page. This is Simon Thompson. Now, Jeff Snieder is not here this week. He is still being all fancy pants at the Sundance Film Festival. He's going to be back next week, which gives me the chance to have possibly two of my favorite people in the industry on the show co-hosting with me this week. I'm absolutely delighted to have Brianne Chandler and Demetri Panos. Hey,
we're
guys.
Delighted to be here.
Okay, now let's...
Yeah, and you just fat-shamed me. I eat cake.
Dude, seriously, I'm just going to stand up. Look
But
at
you're
this.
not a kid,
Look at this.
so...
Look at this. I'm having a little baby, you know. And then,
People
there you
say
go.
I have the intellect of a 12-year-old.
I am no stick-thin person myself. So, just in case people don't know who you are, Brianne, let's start with you. Brianna, who are you and what do you do?
I'm Brianne. You can also call me Miss Movies because I miss movies. That's how that works. I like how you said two of my favorite industry people. I would call myself industry adjacent, like not even really industry. But anyways, you can find me on Twitter at Miss Movies. I can.
Yeah,
I'm pretty good sometimes.
Yeah. And Demetri?
Well, I am part of this wonderful Popcorn Talk network.
Indeed.
I am on Anatomy of a Movie, which we discuss and break down movies pretty much every week. This week, I'm going to be part of, what's the movie that we're doing? They're doing Paddington 2. Oh, and Molly's Game, which I thoroughly enjoyed.
Fantastic.
So, so I do movie reviews, talk movies. I work within the business. I actually just got a new gig. So I'm very excited about that.
What is it?
I'm working for a company called Market Force, which is an analytic data company that works with the studios and exhibitors, and we talk trailers and
it's all about numbers
stuff. All about
it's a numbers game.
All about the numbers.
So we have so much to talk about. Let's give a chunk of the show first of all over to might have heard of the Oscar nominations this week.
Is that what happened?
A little bit of an announcement. Generally, I'm actually not that Hollywood cares. I'm pretty happy with this year's nominations. Obviously, some movies that I like did not get nominated, but A, they don't check with me, and B, that's life. You only have a certain number of shelves to put things on at awards season. So, guys, things that you were particularly happy with, and things that you were a little bit sad they were overlooked. Brianne, let's go with you first of all.
Particularly happy with the fact that out of the 10 actresses that are nominated for Best Actress, Best Supporting Actress, 8 out of 10 of those actresses are over 40. And I find that really amazing, first of all, because normally it's like, I'm in my 20s. Maybe I'm pushing 30. But now we got some seasoned actresses, and I love that. Not that we don't always have seasoned actresses. I'm just saying, like, that's a pretty big chunk. So
I mean, it's brilliant,
but
it's also quite sad.
Quite sad that it is a
thing. You have to point it out.
Well, yeah, it is. You're absolutely right, and it's. I agree with you very much. It is sad that it's a thing, because it shouldn't be.
This is just something I personally look for. As I'm getting older, as I'm hitting my late 30s this year, I'm like, oh man, who else do I have to look up to? It's these ladies. So I'm like, hey. Cool. Well, I like what you're doing.
I was doing a number of features this week, and the amount of, when I was sort of looking at the ages of actors and actresses, the amount of actors and actresses right now that we're seeing either have a resurgence or new material coming forward through them, who are 40 plus, and it's not like, you're now grandma. You're now the old man. You're the spinster. You're the cat lady. They're genuinely good parts that are there for them, not because of their age or their sex. They're women that are at a certain stage in their career who are just getting good roles again.
Yes, especially with Big Little Lies, too, which we'll get into later.
We will get to that in just a little bit.
Yeah.
No.
But I also like, things like we had talked about earlier before the show started with I, Tonya and with Allison Janney and the fact that she is the mother role to Margot Robbie. Normally, if it were a few years ago, it would have gone to like a 35-year-old that's going to be 10 years older than Margot Robbie to play this part. And it's just like, why would we do that? Why won't we have it like really a break.
And I don't know if you guys are the same, but for me, the realism in a movie is absolutely important. I got to a point last year, kind of about sort of just coming into the first bit of the summer, where I was like, is there something wrong with me? Am I not connecting with the movies in the same way? Am I falling out of love with movies? And it was just because I think there was some really bad story ideas, but some really bad casting. And I think that having this authenticity and this integrity to it just makes the film, it just brings you in. Even if there are other elements in the movie that don't quite work, it just feels like it's a real thing.
Yeah,
a lot more authentic. Demetri, what about yourself?
Yes.
You know, I mean, for me, it's always with the Academy that I'm not disappointed with what was picked. Although, again, they shun the mainstream. Like, I'm glad Get Out was nominated, and I actually think that Get Out this year has a really good chance because the Academy just let in a ton of young folk,
I like how you
African American.
Well,
they did. Well, yeah, they let in. So I think Get Out has a really good chance. But again, they just shun mainstream like crazy, and you know, you're supposed to be promoting movies, and we've got a lot of movies that not most of America is gonna see, or do they care to see, and they've always been this way. I mean, just look at their hatred towards Spielberg. So that's always my issue. There are certain movies, like I don't see why a Star Wars can't be nominated. I don't see why even a movie like a Blade Runner can be nominated for Best Picture. You know, you gotta like the whole point of going from 5 nominations up to 10 nominations was to let those pictures in.
Yeah.
And they don't do it. And it's like, well, what's the point?
Yes.
And you, like, if you want to grow the business, you actually have to, like, you have to give some credit to movies that people are actually caring about and going to see, if they're worthy. I'm not saying
that was going to be something I was going to comment on, actually.
Don't pick a shitty movie.
Yeah.
But if the movie
and there are a lot of shitty movies last year.
Absolutely. Well,
that had a lot of potential, but
why does Baby Driver made $100 million or close to $100 million domestically?
Yeah.
Why can't that be nominated? Like, it artfully done and really good. So I'm just saying, pick some movies that people have actually seen and actually care to see in the theater. I'm not saying that I don't care to see them.
Yeah.
But you're trying to grow the business.
Maybe there should be like a box office, like some sort of award for box office.
So
but then
like
at the same time, it would be like, what's the highest?
Well, I mean, I guess we have that in things like People's Choice, right?
Yeah, People's Choice
those
for
are
sure.
sort
But
of
also,
fake.
a lot of people are idiots.
True. That's so true.
That's true.
I mean, sorry.
The one that I was kind of disappointed as far as Best Picture goes would be I, Tonya not being on there. That was the one that I was looking for. But other than that, I haven't seen Darkest Hour, so I don't really know how to speak to that.
It's great, but I think a lot of these movies that are nominated, Darkest Hour is a really good example. I mean, it's a great movie, but really the part of that that's getting all the sort of the accolades is Gary Oldman's performance, which is one part of a pie.
Yes.
Right.
You know, and I think we're seeing a lot of that rather than films that are, which are these smaller films that a lot of people don't see. If you're in, you know, if you're in the middle of Alabama, I very much doubt that your 6-screen multiplex is showing I, Tonya.
Right.
You know, it's just, and that's not a slam against Alabama. That's a programming thing because you haven't got an audience there that wants to go and pay and see that.
No, absolutely.
So if you can put a Star Wars on another screen, you're going to put Star Wars on another screen because you know Bobby Joe is going to go and see that.
Even over at my theater, I was like waiting a few weeks for I, Tonya after Star Wars came out because Star Wars was taken over, and I was like, can we just go just one theater? Could you just thanks?
But it's interesting. You talk about, you know, films that people haven't seen, but also a lot of the movies that are nominated, and this was especially the case again last year, where obviously Get Out, hugely successful. People didn't see that coming, that success. That really surprised them.
That's the thing about Get Out.
A lot of these nominees, they haven't been movies, and again, let's look at last year, Moonlight, La La Land. They made money, but they were not blockbusters by any stretch. They weren't big money.
did very well, but Moonlight did not.
And again, we're looking at I, Tonya this year, and we're looking at films like that, and a lot of these movies that, again, I mean, Phantom Thread, great movie, 3 Billboards, great movie, but they're not exactly making huge money. There is an audience to go to see it. Their recognition on a public platform is much more than the number of people who are putting hands in pockets and bums on seats.
No, absolutely, and again, that's always been an issue with me in the Academy. It's like you can commercial films can also be good films. Like they can be artfully done, and they should be recognized. And it's like I said, there was a time where you were nominating a lot of commercial type movies, and I just don't understand. Like you made this rule because certain movies, like the Dark Knight movies, weren't being. Why can't a Dark Knight movie be nominated for a Best Picture if it truly is one of the best pictures that you've seen this year? I was very happy for Mr. Nolan in Dunkirk.
I don't think that's his best work by any. I mean, we know people who watch the show on a regular basis know that I kind of have a love-hate relationship with Chris Nolan's movies. Like some other directors, I'm not one of those guys like, if it's a Chris Nolan movie, it's therefore brilliant. Some of his movies I just don't enjoy. Some of them I think are like really lazy. I think he has a real I mean, he doesn't need filmmaking advice from me. You know?
Dunkirk took me a while to like come around and actually accept and like. And,
but that's beautiful as a film. It didn't touch me in any way. It didn't move me in any way. But I can see the accomplishment up on the screen, and he's done that previously. But I mean, I would have been amazed if that wasn't nominated. Do I think that's going to win? I know a lot of the guys at Variety who watch this show, they're pretty sure that that's actually going to take Best Picture, or they certainly think it could be in there. I don't think it is. I think, Get Out could, but I don't think Get Out. I would love to see Get Out succeed, but for me, it would be a little bit sad because I don't think Get Out is the best movie in that category. And I think there are movies that are better movies as a piece of cinema, like Stronger, didn't even get a look in. I was amazed that people were talking Wonder Woman. They thought that was going to be Best Picture. I love that movie. I had a great time with it. I've watched it a number of times since. For me, that's not a Best Picture Oscar nominee.
No, and I have my theories as to why that wasn't, why they may have overlooked it, but... again, Wonder Woman was the best DC movie since
Stop
it was
sentence.
It was their best. I'm
joking.
Yeah, since the Nolan Batman movie.
No, 100%.
And it was their, it was their best. It was their best Marvel movie.
And Warner and DC know that.
And
even they're like going
screwed the pooch with Justice League. Yeah. So, but I don't know. Like there are other movies too that I felt like like Lady Bird, which I enjoyed. But I think there were better movies similar to Lady Bird. I think that you have somebody like Meryl Streep being nominated again. She was great, but I think that there are other performances. I sometimes think that they just nominate Meryl Streep because of her name. And I was a little bit. Look, I'm calling Meryl Streep out too because. She's one of the, she is a person that called Harvey Weinstein a god at the Oscars. And she went in with my head was in the sand. I didn't know he was that. Meryl Streep, you're Meryl Streep, like you should know.
I think we can hold that same accusation and allegation against a number of other people in the industry. I think unfortunately she has been a bit of a I agree with what you're saying, but I think she's been a little bit of a whipping horse because people do love to either love or hate Meryl Streep. Unfortunately, she's one of those sort of figures that people just, sometimes want to focus in on.
And we heard the big Oscar, other big Oscar news today about Casey Affleck.
Yep, he's not going to be presenting this year.
He took himself out of
Vanity Fair have photoshopped James Franco out of their cover.
Oh, right,
So, I think it's a very interesting time. But going back to Wonder Woman, I was very surprised there were no technical things for that. I'm not surprised about Best Picture, because if Suicide Squad can get an Oscar nomination, then Wonder Woman certainly had more to offer.
Wait, didn't Suicide Squad win?
It did win.
Yeah. It is a Oscar.
Even Suicide Squad,
film.
Really? No, fucking, I'll take it. Great. Obviously, some joker voted for them. Yeah, that's all I've got. But again, Stronger. But I'm just amazed. And I had a conversation with someone called Becky who used to actually work here online this week. She was amazed that Beauty and the Beast didn't get anything. I mean, I'm very surprised. I thought that was going to at least, it couldn't go in for Best Song because it's not an original composition. But
there's one in there that is an original composition, but I don't know which one it is. Okay. So I apologize for not having that off the top of my head. But there is one there.
God damn it, Brianne.
How dare I was just hoping that The Greatest Showman would get all of those nominations.
I was surprised there's not more than
Coco.
one. Now, you and I are The Greatest Showman apologists. We both love that movie. I really enjoyed it.
The person who's engineering our show right now.
Nobody's
ad nauseum has been tweeting Miss Marissa Serafini has 4 times, or is it 6 times now?
It's amazing.
It's great.
I've seen it 4.
You liked it. Hey, thanks. Oh, you showed up. Thanks, dude.
I was held up.
Thanks for joining us.
Sorry about that.
Thanks.
That was
thanks,
that
Tony.
doorbell right before the show started.
Hashtag orcs. But no, I was very surprised because there are a number of great songs in there, and I listen to that soundtrack a lot. I mean, I do love movie soundtracks and I love musicals.
I don't know, like, if there's one that I don't like in
No,
the soundtrack.
they're all really, really good.
I love all of them.
You can, each movie can be nominated for more than one if you have multiple songs in it. But it's like, I saw awards nominations in other ceremonies for like Ferdinand, Home from Ferdinand. I mean, not a big movie and not a song that certainly hit or touched me in the way that this has done.
I always listen to whatever songs are nominated just so I have kind of an idea of what's going on there because I can. It's really easy. You just Google it on YouTube. Google it on YouTube. Yeah, that's how you do it. You search it on YouTube.
Just gonna Google YouTube.
But anyways, so I listened to all of them and I was like, yeah, no, this doesn't stick with me.
Yeah.
This doesn't stick with me. I really think it'll probably come down to This Is Me and Coco, Remember Me. Although I think I like This Is Me that better because I know I know the whole song, but like for Remember Me, I really only remember the part that says Remember Me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what else is in there?
Yeah, for me, Remember Me is the one
cute,
because it's done 3 times in the movie at 3 different tempos, and it means 3 different things in each time. The resonance to me of that song, like Coco, for me, is another picture of that. Again, I don't understand why you can't nominate an animated movie.
You can.
Beauty and the Beast was Best Picture, wasn't it?
Toy Story 3 was the last one that was nominated for Best Picture, right?
But they don't, like, they came up with this category. Yeah. But if a movie like Coco
was great. I wouldn't put that in Best Picture category.
No, I would.
But
I
thought it was
I know a lot of people really love that.
Yeah, I think thematically it's as good as anything that's
I feel like
out there.
at some point, Pixar and their emotional porn needs to just rein it in for a moment. Because I'm just like, okay, I can't.
I didn't realize emotional porn was actually a Pixar movie.
It's every Pixar movie.
I would say I'll Google that, but I want to put Safe Search on first of all.
Here's a synopsis I'm going to give you. I want you to tell me which Pixar movie it is. A character is lost and needs to find their way home. Which Pixar movie is that?
Oh, that'll be all of them.
Yep. That's all of them.
Yeah.
So there you go.
That'll be all of them.
That's harsh and that's harsh.
Kind of true. You tell me which one is not.
But no, I think this year's quite interesting. I was amazed that The Baby Driver didn't get more nominations. Very pleased to see that it got, 3 nominations? Edgar Wright actually, there was a great story this week. Edgar actually predicted that it was going to get these Oscar nominations when he actually put in his draft and was like sound design, and he's the people who even before they'd started working on it were like,
it's a music video, that's why. It's
and they were like editing and music
film.
we're going to get.
Well, I argue it's a music. We talked about this when we broke it down.
Who's singing?
It does. They're singing.
To me, it is. Well, the narrative is music.
A music film and a musical are 2 different things. It's a music film.
No, it's a musical.
Gosh, we
it's
are
driven
really
by.
Going to get into this right now.
It's a musical.
Who is singing?
It's driven.
Who is dancing? It does matter. It does matter.
Doesn't really.
Everyone knows me. I'm like, oh God, please let's not do this.
So, what is the official definition then of a musical? Because I get what you're saying, and I do agree. I also agree with what you're saying. Right.
That are for that musical.
So Moulin Rouge isn't a musical.
There are some original songs in that.
Yeah, but it's mostly
they're
covers.
singing and dancing.
What
There's
would
choreography.
Jersey Boys qualify as?
Well, yeah, I don't know. Probably a music movie.
That's the biggest
That's
question.
a music movie.
Okay.
So
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting definition.
That's my definition.
No, it's fine. No, it's an interesting definition. No, I think it's fine. It's actually interesting because when Baby Driver came out and we did Anatomy of the Movie talking about this, for me it would definitely, my definition of musical, I think it would qualify because the narrative is heavily driven. That it's a key part of what drives the movie itself, whether it's positioning of scenes, whether it's context.
It moves the plot forward.
It moves the plot. It's a key part of that mixture. But I do agree with what you're saying. I think you're absolutely right in that definition as well. It's kind of difficult. I am just surprised when it came out, there are people who would say to me, I don't like musical movies. And they would consider this to be effectively as close to a musical as a musical. It's like people say to me, I don't like horror. I haven't seen Get Out. There was one of the viewers of the show this week, and my wife does not like horror movies, but she loved Get Out. Right. To me, it's funny. Get Out is kind of this. It's the redheaded stepchild of this year because it keeps being defined as various things. It's
comedy,
like comedy. It's a social commentary thing. It's something, and I'm like. A film can be a lot of things.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be one thing. To me, it's not a horror movie. If anything, it's a thriller. or a drama with comedic elements, and also the race stuff and various things. It's not a film you could possibly define as one thing.
I agree.
So,
although I will say that if you combine music and dance, that's the big element, then it's a musical.
Well, but I find the choreography in Baby Driver.
I was going to say there are scenes that are choreographed.
It was choreographed.
Like dancing, foot dancing, like
to me that was
dancing.
Foot dancing.
Oh, okay.
Whether it was in a car chase or whether they were running, the way that the music
with the coffee, moving
right.
through
As
the streets.
people that have never studied dance, I'm going to say you're wrong.
Okay,
no,
fine.
I'm sorry.
This is a friendly space.
At the very beginning of the movie, where after the big car chase,
Yeah.
and Baby's walking to the office, he's got his thing on and he's dancing through the street. He's like,
That's one person.
that's okay.
There's the stunt work with the car. I think we're going to
person.
have to agree to disagree on this. I think we obviously are around it. But I think it's
Sure.
very interesting to discuss because even with the cars,
Right.
there's the stunt choreography
I'm
for
so
that.
glad we went here today, guys.
No, it's
I am,
true
because
though.
I
It's
love
really
musicals.
interesting. Yeah. No, I think it's
am.
really interesting. It's I think it's both are very very valid, interesting.
You know what
viewpoints.
else is a musical?
What's that?
That Steven Spielberg is trying to butcher.
Oh, yeah. Let's move
This is
on.
called
Let's
a
move on
segue,
from
ladies and gentlemen.
Oscars. That is a very nice way to do it. Tell you take the lead on this,
Oh
Brianne.
goodness!
Okay.
Apparently, and you told me this morning.
I kind
but
of
I guess that
burst your
Steven
bubble.
Spielberg is
Yeah.
going to remake West Side Story, which just breaks my heart really in a lot of pieces. The original came out in 1961, directed by Jerome Robbins and Robert Wise. Jerome Robbins is a choreographer, so this is kind of one of his big chances. He won Best Director along with Robert Wise, which was the first time that someone shared the Best Director award.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's exciting. It is the musical that won the most Oscars, and with 10, it had 11 nominations. But how do you do that? How do you take that greatness and then decide you're going to do it again? I don't understand. I don't know why we're doing this.
I literally had. My wife and I were out for dinner last night with one of the. I won't name them, but one of the major studio executives.
Okay, Steven Spielberg.
I can't say it was Steven Spielberg.
Okay.
But yeah, so we were having this conversation and we were talking about the fact that, and this is someone who greenlights movies, that there is this desperation for new content, and they're very keen to see new content coming through, but that comes with a risk. But then you kind of go back and you remake things like this that already have a foundation, already have a history, and sometimes they turn out well and sometimes they don't. But you have a built-in IP, and it's like. It's a very interesting relationship that is going on right now in Hollywood, where there is still this desperation and audiences are engaging with new content, new stories, new characters, new talent, new ways of doing things. And yet you know that if you put something like this, there's a 60-40 chance of it bringing an audience rather than... So the industry is slightly torn on this kind of thing. I don't want to see a remake of West Side Story.
I don't either, and I feel like I just go in angry watching it, like waiting for it to melt my heart and to like it. And I feel like a lot of people are going to go in with that hard view of, you got to really bring this if you're going to make me like this.
Yeah, I mean...
So, it's an uphill battle for it.
For me,
I feel.
to tackle the remake thing,
Yeah.
I always dislike when they remake known entities. Like, Hollywood has made a shitload of B movies that this many people may have seen, but yet they're still good B movies. Like they had a good story to them. Remake those because
let's remake Xanadu. We could make it way better.
Oh! Buying the first ticket. Where do I?
You're not getting point.
Hey, Fandango, you put that online. I'll buy my ticket now. I haven't even seen a log line. Just you had me a Xanadu.
Use my ticket to blow my nose in for that. But in any case, all I'm saying it's like
I'll take your seat.
There's plenty of. There's a lot of quantity out there of movies that so many people watched that don't really have a recognizable name that you can remake today and do it well. When you pick a movie like West Side Story, look, I don't know what Spielberg will do with it. Is it necessary? No, but because of Spielberg, I'm sort of curious. you know, he has a way. There is a fantastic scene in the middle of 1941, which is basically a dance musical scene, and the way that it's choreographed, and, you know, it's great. I think he could, visually, I think it'll do, you know, he could do great. He could contemporize it to, like, there's a lot of the themes that are in West Side Story that are relevant today, I think, with people. But to your point, I don't think today a lot of people are overly familiar with the movie West Side Story because it's old. And I hate to say that because I hate it when they remake really good Oscar-winning movies that are known to people. But a lot of, dare I say, millennials who don't really, many of them, I don't want to group, there's a faction of millennials who don't want to see historic, like films that change the landscape for certain things. Yeah. So they may not have seen West Side Story outside of hearing about it. And for sure they don't know that Robert Wise also has directed horror movies and science fiction movies and
Star Trek the motion picture.
Yeah, I mean, he's done, which has been on cable a lot lately, but he's done a lot of different genres, which the way a director's done, like Spielberg has done.
Which is a good and a bad thing, because they might not be aware of West Side Story, but, and I hate to use this as an argument sometimes, but if it means that people then do discover the original West Side Story, surely that is actually a good thing, because we are then broadening people's film knowledge, film base, reference points, etc., etc. And often, when you remake a movie, it can go horribly wrong occasionally, and use musicals like Little Shop of Horrors. Great movie. It wasn't a success, but it was great. I personally enjoyed Rock of Ages. But then you've got movies like The Thing, The Fly, where when you have a remake, you actually improve on the original. It's unlikely, and it's infrequent, but it does happen. So I'm still completely undecided on the remake thing. But people are saying, I mean, Mike is saying in the chat, a lot of people are talking about this. A lot of people, by the way, Brianne is saying hello. Very excited you're on the show today. And also to Demetri. So we are going to get you guys back on together again in the future.
I hope so.
Seems to be something
of
an
honor to be here.
Very popular choice, which is wonderful.
Oh, good.
Well, thank you.
But yeah, no, Mike was saying that he would love to see a Spielberg musical. Good, because you're getting one. And Harry was saying would rather see Spielberg create something new. I think, yeah, but we've seen Spielberg create a lot of new stuff over the years. I mean, he is, as a filmmaker, he's been groundbreaking in many, many ways.
Or even just take something like, let's say, Waitress, which they did into a musical, a stage production musical, which is really popular. Why not take that and bring it? Because I love the movie, and I love the story behind the director and the sadness that is with her and her untimely death. But I want to also, like, we can acknowledge her and, like, be something for her.
100%.
Yeah, but a lot of stuff that comes off of Broadway.
Sarah Bareilles did the music of it.
She
it's
did.
just, it's really popular.
No, I get it, but popularity in Broadway does not necessarily count to popularity in box office.
Yes, but the movie Waitress itself is a very popular movie amongst women.
It is. Yeah, it's one that actually I only discovered. I knew when it was coming out, but I only discovered it sort of a couple of years ago, and actually sat down and watched it. And it's a great movie. It's it's really really good.
Absolutely. It's just, again, I'm with you. I'm undecided. I don't have the hatred towards, particularly because it's Steven Spielberg. Yeah. And so when you have if Martin Scorsese even said, I want to do this, I'd be, well, there's a film history. So at least he's going to go in with a passion of that history of musicals. Yeah. And we're going to see perhaps a modernized take. And visually, I would like to see Janusz Kaminski's cinematography. Michael Kahn might do the editing. These are, so he's got the talent to pull it off. Yeah. I'm just thrilled that he's going back to his old wheelhouse, because I can't wait for Ready Player One. And this is, to me, it's no mistake that the lead actor kid looks like Spielberg. Like, when you look at him, like, I'm like going, well, yeah, like, I can't wait for that movie, because this is what I've been waiting for Spielberg to do. Yeah. Because this is what made him popular. And if you've ever watched that documentary about Spielberg, and I remember it as a kid. It's like the Academy shunned him so much because he literally changed the way movies were distributed, his movies. And they hated him for it. They hated him for his popularity. But Close Encounters, you and I talked about that.
Yeah.
Why can't that be Best Picture? I mean, it's a beautiful picture to look at. It has this amazing story. All through pop culture, Steven Spielberg has been there. When you make his movie,
right from Jaws, right from Duel, right off the top.
Right,
Yeah.
and yes, you're going to have some stinkers in there. When you make that many movies, law of averages just catches up with you.
The best directors in the industry, they've all had a little bit of caca on their resume. Everybody's got that essence de poupe, that parfum de failure on there.
It happens.
Yeah, it's true. It is true. We've had a Zeno hour saying that, wondering what a Chris Nolan musical would look like. I'm going to go with fucking horrible.
I'm not sure I'd be into that.
And to be honest with you, I don't think Christopher Nolan's sitting at home in his house in the hills going, do you know what I need to do? I need to do a musical. I don't think that's going to happen. Dunkirk, sing and dance.
It would be interesting.
Yeah, I think there are many things that are on his to-do list above that.
He would use a staggered narrative and dance his way, you know.
I'd love to
into
see like
another
a
time.
female-driven film from him, like.
That's actually really interesting, yeah, because we haven't seen that, and it's not like he's not good at crafting female characters, because we've had a number over the years, but they've never been the ones that have been front and center. They've always been sort of the level B characters, which would be very interesting. Very
That's
interesting.
what I'm hoping for.
Yeah,
from
good
him.
point. Well, maybe we'll see. Okay, let's move on to something else. Black Panther, which I'm getting to see on Monday.
Ooh.
Oh, well,
Congratulations.
bully for you.
Unbelievably excited about that. I'm very excited. I'm getting to sit down with the cast next week, which is
I'll give you my
fantastic.
Xanadu ticket for that ticket.
Do you know what? I will put that one on the back burner. I'll check this out first of all, and then I'll get back to Xanadu. But I do love Xanadu. It's a great movie.
Xanadu.
I drove past the place where they actually had the rink, the roller rink, where they filmed the finale.
Amazing.
And it's now
Gene
selling
Kelly's
no
final
longer
film,
there.
guys. If you want to see Gene Kelly's final film,
it's brilliant.
Xanadu.
Absolutely. But yes, and it's sadly no longer there. But I was in a bar in LA a couple of months ago. It's a little side story called the Snake Pit. It's one of my local bars. It's on Melrose. And I was in there. It's a brilliant ale house. It's a rock bar. So everybody in there is pretty cool, pretty badass. It was wall-to-wall rock tracks, and all of a sudden, somebody put Xanadu on.
Yeah,
People went mental. They loved it. Just saying.
They were drunk.
I would hope so for the sake of that business, but everybody loved it. People were like, "Oh my god, it's such a great movie, such a great song." It is. It's fantastic. Yep, I'm going to put my roller skates on today.
All right.
But yeah, so Black Panther is looking at opening at about 120 million, which is a nice
minimum is what I would say.
Yeah, I think it's going to be more because there is some serious talkability and some serious excited audience sort of involvement in this, not just from sort of African American or black audiences internationally. Who are responsible? Like I found out the other day that Hispanic moviegoers or Latina, in general, Latino and Latina audiences buy like 1 in 3 movie tickets. It's a huge audience, and yet the Latino audience is not. We don't tailor many movies to them.
Well, that's why Pantaleon exists.
Yeah.
Is to tailor for that. My wife was their president of marketing over there, and they were built upon that statistic. And when you look at that audience, they love their action movies, they love horror movies, and they'll go and they'll pay the ticket price to go. I live in a neighborhood which is. It's predominantly urban, but they cater to the Latino audience as well. A lot of Pantaleon movies play there. But yeah, when you see a trailer for Black Panther, like that, the crowd erupts. It's actually quite entertaining and hysterical.
But everything about Black Panther, I mean, you've got women who want to see it, men who want to see it, kids who want to see it, a large African American fan base, comic book fans, white fans. This is one of the movies that is a very specific character and a very specific part of a universe, with perhaps one of the broadest appeals of a Marvel movie that will have come out in the last couple of years. you know, a lot of people brought baggage to some other ones. Like people didn't particularly know Ant-Man. It wasn't their highest performing movie, but it's very beloved. Doctor Strange wasn't really by your everyman, wasn't really particularly did very well at the box office. The success of Black Panther, and the popularity and anticipation of Black Panther, is at the level of something like a Batman versus Superman, Spider-Man, that kind of level of awareness and excitement.
Well, think about what Marvel has done now, right? They kicked this entire universe off with Iron Man.
Yeah.
Who at the time, he was a B player.
Yeah.
I mean, people liked
100%.
Iron Man, but he definitely wasn't Spider-Man or the Hulk or even
and outside of America
Four.
Was not one of the main three.
And then when you look at go to Guardians of the Galaxy, again, there was nobody knew that Guardians of the Galaxy was going to do the business that it did because they were the B team. And even in the comic book sales prior to the movie coming out, they had so. It doesn't surprise me with Black Panther and what they're doing and how they're marketing the movie that it's going to potentially do that $120+ million. It doesn't, and I know that their advanced ticket sales have been a great success.
I think we're just ready to see more diversity on screen in this genre because it's been just white guys the whole time. And it's like, come on, like I'm ready for a woman. I'm ready for diversity. Like, let's do this. And I think people are just really excited that it's finally come.
Well, it just gives, obviously, it is a fantasy world. I mean, these Marvel movies and comic book movies in general are not documentaries. They're not news movies. You know, but it's having that representation because even in a fantasy world, there are people of different sizes, different sexes, different orientations, different colors, blah, 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 all the way through. It just adds that authenticity. And it's, you know, generally, as you say, it's previously been predominantly, you know, white dudes and female characters have been few and far between. And certainly people of color have not been given an equal representation. Right. But I think it's great, you know, it makes it a much richer tapestry.
Yeah, I think the superhero, I think it should just have its own category at this point.
Yeah.
It should just be superhero movies.
Yeah, no, I agree.
That's what it is. Like, I mean, I know there's action, I know there's adventure in it and whatnot.
Or could it be comic book superhero?
No, just superhero.
Together.
No,
just
because,
superhero.
Just superhero. Okay. Because it's its own genre now. I mean, it's a superhero movie. That's what it is. That's what you directed. That's what you
true.
made.
But I think there's still the school of thought though that superhero is man with cape or fighting with powers, and I think a lot of comic book characters, Batman doesn't have any superpowers. Right. He's not super. He wears a suit that gives him the stuff that he wants to do.
Because if they were to do Why the Last Man, there's not really a superhero in that in that series. So it's like, where would that fall? Would that just be
great
sci-fi?
By the way.
Thanks. I like it. It's the first comic book I ever read.
Yeah. Oh, you've stuck around. You've stuck around. Thanks. Just wanted,
I left for a bit because I got a little.
I know. Yeah, I know. It's fine. It's fine.
We see you.
But talking of Superman, great.
We know someone who's a Superman. Tom Cruise.
We do. Well, I was going to say very briefly before we actually move on to that, Mike Marchant and his editorial guys do a brilliant superhero news website and revealed this week that Superman is actually going to be appearing in Shazam.
Okay.
Apparently, which is very interesting. Was not of any characters I thought would cross over. We haven't seen that. But that's very good. If you want to find Mike Marchant on Twitter, then do track him down. There's a lot of really good sort of superhero stuff and fantasy stuff that those guys on the site actually do well. So I suggest finding Mark. It's Mike Mike, Marchant Marchant. Look him up, give him a follow. He's pushing some really good stuff out of quite a fledgling site. So props to Mike and his team for doing that. Okay, yeah. So let's move on to talking of a Superman.
We know a Superman.
We know a Superman.
Tom Cruise.
We do, Mr. Tom. Good old Thomas Mapother Cruise. Yeah, we now know the title of Mission Impossible 27. Which is going to 99. Which 19. Is coming out very soon. It's the poster, of course, has him hanging off something. Just that's what Tom does.
What is it going to be next? Because I saw it's the helicopter right now. So now what's next? He's got to go to one of those tall buildings and like walk those beams like the kids do on YouTube and sometimes die.
I think next time he's going to be hanging
He's going
off.
to be on Space Rocket X.
I don't know the planet Earth.
That's what he's going to be on.
He's
Space
Space
Rocket
Shuttle.
X. Yeah.
He's hanging on
black
the Space
hole.
Shuttle.
Yeah. See, now that's a movie that can
A
be remade.
YouTuber.
You just the black hole.
It was supposed to be
can
remade
be
years ago.
Remade.
It should be a musical.
that's
Steven Spielberg, let's do this. I've
It's a
got it for
hole.
you.
Look at the blackness.
Anthony Perkins, man, he was so good.
Yeah,
that's
he's
a
so
movie
good.
that's a movie that can be remade because at its time it was ahead of its time. It was not a big blockbuster.
I want to see Vincent.
It's not even available on. You can't get it on Blu-ray. That's
Really?
a perfect movie. Yeah, I have another
realize
great. No, you can't. It's not on Blu-ray as of yet. That's a perfect movie to be remade. I have another perfect Disney movie to be remade. It's
Something
called
Wicked This Way Comes.
Well, it's a great movie. It doesn't need to be remade, but The Island at the Top of the World can be remade. That's a brilliant story. So that's a movie that's perfect for remake. Like again, this was in the early 70s, another great Disney movie. But let's go talk about Tom Cruise remaking Mission Impossible.
And the movie is going to be Mission Impossible Fallout.
Yes, love that video game.
Yeah.
Fallout.
Yeah, me too. Right.
It's a lot of fun.
Interesting title. It could be a number of things. It could be military weaponry fallout. It could be Tom Cruise and his friends having a tiff. His friends, the super friends. Tom Cruise and his super friends.
It's sort of
Hey guys.
if you're watching if you've been watching the series, there has been sort of like this through line that MIF and Ethan Hunt and team don't exactly see eye to eye
They
on
do
certain
not.
things. So I can see there being some semblance of a fall. I mean, the last movie, MIF pretty much tossed them aside. It was called Rogue Nation.
Oh, wait,
Rogue
no.
Nation.
That was another movie.
Sorry.
We won't get into that.
You get it Rogue, it's automatically
What?
So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And regardless of like this is a sequel, these movies have thus far been widely entertaining, especially since J.J. Abrams had sort of kind of taken over the reign, and the ones following that, I should say, they've just gotten better and better, and they really up the ante, and they're fun summer movies to watch. And watching him hang from a plane and knowing that it's him, I mean, he's crazy.
I'm really curious what 20-year-old's going to play his girlfriend. That's really where I'm at right now.
I'm still pulling for Alice and Janney to do that. Let's switch it up.
Oh, why not?
Let's switch it up. But yeah, so I'm a fan of the Mission Impossible franchise. I don't know how many more we need to do, and it's going to be a success. And I don't think it'll meet the height of its success again. That's going to be difficult to recapture. But Tom needs a hit. Audiences, it's going to be a very easy sell to audiences. That it's not a difficult one to sell tickets for.
And it's so easy to market when you have like a great Universal tried to copy that marketing. It didn't work, but when it says Mission Impossible and you're hanging from a plane, that works. And Paramount knows how to get
we
that
already
out
at
there.
20 years of this.
20 years.
Franchise.
20
95 is that when it came out?
No, it had to have been 96,
96.
97.
Yeah, it was 1996, summer 96. Yeah.
So, and you've had people like Brian De
a long
Palma.
time.
20 years, guys.
Think about the people.
20 years.
Brian De Palma directed the first one. John Woo
I love
the
that they're always
second,
different.
So, yeah.
Didn't
It
Brad
doesn't
Bird do one?
Yes, he did. He did the third
He
one.
did the third one.
Yeah.
Which is really good. But that
third
was the
one is
one that
incredible.
the third one was the one.
It gets passed over so much, and Philip Seymour Hoffman is that villain. I think
amazing.
The third one's my favorite.
Yeah,
I think.
I agree.
All that running, man.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, the
running in movies since.
The Brad Bird one was the one where he was hanging off the Burj Khalifa, the building. I think that was the one.
I don't know.
Sounds correct.
Yeah, because the third one was the third one
Was that not that?
the
That
third
was
one
the
I
fourth.
thought
Oh,
was
okay.
J.J. Abrams. The fourth,
yes, the fourth one. That's
Brad
right.
Bird
The fourth
one was
was
the one
Brad
that was
Pitt.
in like Shanghai. And
That's
Okay,
right. Yeah,
yes.
that was the fourth one. That's right.
So,
yeah.
But I still like the third one.
Yes,
so
the
everyone
third one
knows.
is the best one. Absolutely.
that's J.J.
Which
Abrams.
actually
Okay.
possibly had one of the best female roles in it as well.
Yes,
Yeah.
Michelle Monaghan.
Yeah, really, really
she's
good.
great.
Well, Hollywood doesn't use her enough.
No, I agree.
true.
She's really
Yeah,
good.
you're
We
right.
don't see enough of her.
Right.
There was a phase where Hollywood would use her for quite a lot, and then it didn't happen. Which is a shame. Okay, so
And
let's
now
talk
Rebecca
about
Ferguson is the new Michelle Monaghan. Is that how that works?
Let's move on and talk about another sequel.
both.
We're looking at Jumanji sequel, which has not been confirmed or greenlit yet.
Okay.
It's kind of okay, certainly
I
just,
really
just
liked this
announced it
Jumanji.
already. Yeah, me too.
It was the most fun I had in the theater all year.
Yeah,
was
Jeff
this
and I,
Jumanji.
we both were of opinion that we thought it was going to be terrible. I did not like the trailer. I thought it was going to be awful. Previously, the teaming up of The Rock and Kevin, I've not enjoyed. I did not
Hasn't
like
hit.
Central Intelligence. Didn't work for me. But this really, really nailed everything. So I'm fully anticipating the fact this film's been so successful. It's the second most successful film for The Rock now in his entire career.
What was
Next
the
to
first?
Baywatch.
The first one was one of the Fast and Furious ones. Yeah, so this
Fast
is his,
5, probably.
yeah, I think it
could have
was
been this
Fast
last
5 or Fast
one,
7.
too.
Something like that. But yeah, so they're looking like obviously a sequel. If it does come out, potentially there's talk that it could go up against Star Wars in December 20th, 2019, which I think will be very
Okay.
interesting.
Well, this one
Kinda
went
did-
up against
yeah.
Star Wars too.
Yeah,
so.
and did phenomenally well.
Right.
So that I think that's a nice bit of pairing, and it just goes to show a lot of people are still very much on board with the counter programming side of things. But it just goes to show that if you have two movies that are coming out that kind of go for the same audience, you both can still get a piece of the pie. Fortunately,
Absolutely.
it means that things like Paddington 2 miss out. And that's criminally overlooked. Go and see it. If you haven't seen Paddington 2, do go to the movie theaters and see it.
I don't
go and see
I
it.
don't blame I blame the socio-political world that Paddington 2 was born of. I mean, it was supposed to be a Weinstein Company movie.
Yeah,
It gets sold
there
off.
are
Warner
many
Brothers
factors, but
you
it's
know,
just a
I
shame
don't
that
think
audiences
they were-
haven't gone out
it
and
didn't
seen
get
it.
the
Yeah.
press. I mean, Warner Brothers bought it
Yeah.
to distribute, and not that they. I don't want to say they rushed it, but you know,
It has to come out in a window.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Now, so
Do a quick PCA. So just if you haven't started the wonderful saga that is Paddington, the first film is on Netflix.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much, and thanks for sticking around.
No
Thanks, mate. Thanks, T. But also with Jumanji, there is the option, and I think this is a really good idea, and we discussed this before the show, that in fact they would recast, because obviously Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, he sleeps for about an hour a week. And the rest of the time, he's either balling or working. Either way, he's still nailing it. He signs deal as in sleep. I swear to God, he does.
I want to see
he
what
goes
he
to bed
turns
with
down.
a pen in his hand.
I just want to see what he says no to.
Yeah.
Like that's what that's the list I want.
I'm
to
actually
see.
interviewing him in a couple of months again, and I'm going to ask him what
Okay.
are the things.
What do you
does he
say
turn
no
anything
to?
down?
Because like
Yeah.
again, like Rampage, from what I'm seeing, I love the video game
Mm.
Rampage. That movie has no right to be a hit. Will he turn it into one?
Yeah, of course he
That's
will.
that's the curiosity. He works well with that director.
Yeah.
They're good friends. I love San Andreas. That's a great disaster movie that kept me up. I was like,
Yeah.
all right, I had a blast. What are they gonna do with this movie? I don't know, but it just seems everything that he's in, at least now. I
Yeah.
mean, it took him a while.
It
but
did.
now it's like, yeah, okay. He's in everything. And
Yeah.
I just want to go, what do you say no to?
Yeah. I just don't want us to burn on Dwayne because I do enjoy
Yes.
him.
No,
But yeah,
enjoy
so-
him.
yeah, no, I'm not burning him. I'm just like, it's
no.
just
I'm
his
saying you don't want to
career
burn.
is
Just
finished.
get so bored
Right.
of the fact and the collateral and the interest
too
in it.
much.
Yeah, and it's just like,
Yeah.
oh, there's another one, and they're like buses. You have one, you got 3 a year. It's
He's
like
built like a bus.
he is
though.
built like a bus. You can tell him that.
I will.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I'm terrified. But yeah, so
Like a
the
greyhound.
with the sequel, if they're looking to do it, they would potentially look at recasting
Yes.
all of the characters, which makes perfect sense.
It
to me.
does. I mean, you close up those chapters, so I don't know what the next game would be. That's my only thought of like, where are we going from here? Are we going to
Zathura.
be caught
Virtual
in
reality.
Dungeons and Dragons? Like, is that where we're caught? Who knows? I don't know. We're caught in esports.
Yeah, well, you could do that. You could have all the guys be women, so you can have more like a female.
That could be fun.
That would be quite good.
I mean, Jack Black took that movie.
Yeah.
That movie was
it's
his.
phenomenal.
Like,
And
you
also,
don't know
I think
it
the
until you
best,
go
the
in.
best penis-related humor that I saw
true.
in a Hollywood movie
That's
in
true.
like the last 3 or 4 years. I mean, I do love a good dick joke. Everybody knows that about me. I think filthy humor has a very valid place and it's very well done.
That's the first
It can
thing I
be.
heard about you.
But yeah, it's true. That's actually my nickname, Dick Joke, Richard Joke. But yeah, no, I thought it handled absolutely perfectly. So there was a lot of stuff in there for adults and a lot of stuff for the kids, and it would go over the heads of certain things. But yeah, no, I absolutely loved it. But I think to do it, to reposition it, to have a different, maybe a mostly female cast, that kind of thing, play on that a bit more, but take it in a slightly different direction to how Jack did it, so you don't feel that it's like, oh, here are our favourite jokes from the first film. let's just do them again
But
for the
does it
second
work
movie.
without The Rock?
Yeah, I think it would.
Yes.
He was great in that, but to me, the script was so sharp and so spot on.
It was.
Everybody got to deliver, and even those characters that you didn't particularly sort of care about, or the ones that were sort of the lesser ones, or even the most underwritten of them, they still had a couple of zinger moments in there, whether it was a set piece.
A dance fight.
I mean, Karen, I think her character wasn't as well drawn and as well written as it could be, but there are certain moments in that movie where it's like, you're the only one that matters on screen right now. You have my attention.
Right.
And she nailed that. She really
Yeah,
did.
I just wonder if part of it is, if you don't have The Rock in a sequel, I don't know. I don't know if it's it. I don't know if it's as big. I'm not saying people won't go, but I hinge the popularity of Jumanji. People wanted to go because of The Rock. They cut that trailer. You and I talked about that too.
We did.
It's like
Yeah.
Another movie that when you look at the marketing, it's like, come on, really? So it ends up being better than original perception, which is fine. I will admit that, hey, okay, my initial thoughts were wrong, but does it work without having The Rock?
Yeah, you're talking about your predictions being wrong. Dude, Sony's own predictions were wrong. Even they were looking at this going like,
Yeah.
how the shit did that happen?
Yeah.
So even Sony is scratching their heads a little bit with this
We're
one, the
like,
success.
well,
They're going,
maybe we'll do a sequel.
more of this. Yeah, so let's Ghostbusters more of this. Yeah, so that's so that's quite good. But there's a couple of other things. We've only got a couple of minutes left on the show, so I want to charge through a few things. Warner have announced that they're going to be making an animated Cat in a Hat movie. It's going to be the first in a series of new deals they've done with the legacy of Dr. Zeus.
Because they're not allowed to do any live action anymore.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that did not go particularly well.
I'm fine with it. Let's do it.
And there's also a new Grinch movie. I think that's a Universal. That's coming out at
saw that,
Christmas
yeah,
this
animated.
year. Young
Fantastic.
Grinch, I think it is.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, which
Young
would be-
Sheldon, Young Grinch.
It's an origin story.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
I mean.
I can't
Okay.
bring myself to watch Young Sheldon.
I'm never gonna
I
watch
cannot. No. But anyway, so that's happening. That's quite interesting.
Yeah.
It's funny
it.
how
Remakes. Hey.
Yeah,
But let's not do
Zeus-
Clue. No, we're not doing Clue with Ryan Reynolds. Please don't. That's all I have to say.
I love Clue.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
I love that.
Me too.
I
I
would
love
be
Clue in
interested to
general.
see it, but that is a movie that again was not a box office hit that Hollywood
Right.
is remaking.
No.
I'm kind of like, I'm quite happy that it's this failure gem that we pull out, and I love it when someone new discovers it. Love it.
But see, I like Clue. Murder by Death's a better movie. It's the same movie, almost. but
Did you
it's
see
a
Murder
better
by
movie.
Death first?
Absolutely.
That's probably why you like it better.
But it's a better
That's what I would
movie.
guess.
It's a better movie.
Yeah. We'll have to agree to
mean,
disagree.
I wouldn't mind seeing it as I wouldn't mind seeing Clue done live, like
Yeah.
they've done those Grease or they did the Christmas Story live,
Oh,
like those productions. Like I wouldn't
Yeah.
mind seeing Clue live.
That's a good idea.
I don't think
No.
Christmas Story was god awful. I couldn't.
I enjoyed
couldn't
it.
Yeah, I
watch
didn't. I
enjoyed
didn't.
it.
I didn't
I
watch it.
couldn't watch. I couldn't get through 10 minutes of it.
My kids like.
But if you make a good look, I don't mind them again. I don't mind them remaking Clue.
Yeah.
But which way are they going? Are they going for that slapstick comedy? Because
Yeah, you have to.
I hope so.
Yeah.
but that doesn't work today. Like slapstick just does not work today. You can try to bring it back.
I don't
But it doesn't
know.
work.
Slapstick, because there are elements of slapstick in a number of movies. Jumanji is a really good case of this, where, you know, and I think that humor does work if it's done right. I think we've got the wrong people doing it right now. And I think that is part of the problem. That people, that's why it's one of the most enduring comedy tropes in cinema and TV history is slapstick. It's really simple to get a laugh out of that stuff.
If done right.
If done right.
Absolutely.
Really good example, Dumb and Dumber does some of that shit absolutely amazing. The sequel, Dumb and Dumber 2, tries to do the same thing, and it just does not work at all. It fails every single time.
But again, I'll say you can't have a movie like Airplane work, which is heavily slapstick.
Airplane,
with a naked
as
gun.
much as I love it, it's very much, and Airplane 2, very much of a time. There's a lot of stuff in there you couldn't get away with now. Sexism, racism, a lot of
I'm
stuff.
not even just
entire
talking
movie.
about
Yeah.
that. I'm just talking about the slapstick of it all.
Yeah.
Even the dialogue. So I'll be very curious to see which route they go for Clue.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Ryan Reynolds can do a comedy. He's very wry.
Yeah.
And I like that.
He's got
It'll be
Detective
interesting.
Pikachu to do first, so we're not going to be quite...
Yeah.
Yeah, that started production this week. Okay, a couple of other things to run through because
I
we've
like
got 5
Pikachu,
minutes
though.
left on the show. I don't dislike Pikachu. I wouldn't say I like Pikachu.
Pika Pika.
Super Bowl, likely to be where the Solo trailer debuts. Nothing official on that, but that's looking like
Makes
it would
sense.
make perfect sense. We've seen nothing from that movie right now. So expect to see that next weekend. I probably will get some sort of editorial guarantee on that towards the end of the week, but excited to see what they've done with that. Dundee, you might have seen a lot of people talking about this online this week. There were videos that came up with basically what looked like a movie, another Crocodile Dundee movie where his son comes from America. Turns out it is not a movie, although I kind of like the idea of a Crocodile Dundee movie again. I kind of don't. We have again a lot of things they could do these days.
First one's
fantastic. A little bit sexist,
surprise.
a little bit homophobic in places. A lot of problems with it. It was very much of a time, but I think there's something that can be done there. It's not going to be a movie. It is not a movie that's happening this year. That is part of a tourism campaign for the Australian Tourist Board, which again we're going to see some of the stuff in the Super Bowl because you know I love the football. You know I'm a big sport fan.
Sports.
Big sports. I love the sports. I love all the sports. Barbie, the film, has been pushed back 2 years. That's the Jane Hathaway movie that was... Yeah. Yeah, what did I say?
Jane.
Jane. It's not Jane Hathaway. It is Anne Hathaway.
Hathaway
Jane's a
was
sister. Jane Hathaway. I don't know who Jane Hathaway is.
Wasn't she Miss Hathaway in the Beverly Hillbillies?
Could have
Wasn't
been.
that Jane Hathaway?
Yeah, it could have been.
Like the character.
Or
not
I
the
could just be
actress.
an idiot and got it wrong.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I could have. Yeah.
Could be.
That would not be unusual.
Insert dick joke here.
Insert dick joke, absolutely. And Meryl Streep, big news this week. Going to be joining Big Little Lies 2.
Meryl Streep already nominated for an Emmy. Already.
Yeah.
For this.
It's got to be, surely, right?
I'm excited about this.
Yeah.
I think possibly Alexander Skarsgård's mother's part, but I'm not sure.
Could be interesting.
Not positive about that.
It's a great-
obviously, this is all speculation. I have no
Regardless,
clue.
yeah, regardless of how you feel about Meryl, though, and we discussed this earlier, I think that is a great addition because that is seriously, she is a strong female force. She is...
Yes.
Irrespective, she is a great actress. She continues to be a great actress and delivers a lot of great material. Even in movies that are not particularly good, she still comes forth and delivers. So I think to add her in with the women that are already in there, who are some of our most amazing female talent right now, I am just so happy Laura Dern is having the renaissance that she is having.
I love Laura Dern.
I've known Laura for a couple of years now, and I've always thought that she was criminally underappreciated. And she often features in a lot of movies, but doesn't get the roles that really give her. We talked about this with The Founder almost a year ago. Right. I'm really pleased to see that Hollywood, TV and film, are embracing Laura Dern in great roles, generally. And I think it's fantastic to see her. I grew up watching her movies like in the 80s and 90s, and I always admired her as an actress. And Hollywood just forgot about her for a while, which was criminal. And I'm so glad to see her getting a resurgence. But you're obviously a big fan of Big Little Lies.
I am a big fan of Big Little Lies. I watched the entire series, and I will definitely be watching this, so I'm very excited. I'm excited to see where it goes.
Okay, we're going to wrap up very quickly, but I want to talk about box office. There's only one major movie being released this week. There are a couple of other releases, but as far as sort of screen space nationally, it's the final movie, the delayed final movie in the Maze Runner series, Death Cure, which is kind of a, Death Cure? Is it death, or is it a cure?
It's like... Yeah,
Life.
Jumbo shrimp.
Yeah, absolutely. So Thursday night previews, it took 1.5. Now, we've put that in context of the first two movies. Maze Runner, which was in 2014, that was 1.1 million on its preview. Scorch Trials, the second movie, which came out... 1.7 million. This is 1.5, so that's pretty good. Already opened very strongly in Korea. It had a very good opening weekend last weekend over there, and it's looking at 20 million this weekend. So putting it at the top of the box office charts and knocking Jumanji off the top, which has been there for 3 weeks. Are you guys sort of excited or interested in the Maze Runner movie at all?
Zero interest.
Yeah.
I haven't seen either of the other films. I didn't know this was the third one, so there we go.
They're pretty good, actually. Of all the YA movies, they're pretty good.
You think?
Yeah.
I mean, I saw the
enjoyed
first
them.
one.
Yeah.
Fox has a tendency, like they make movies like Maze Runner. They make it for not necessarily for the domestic market. I mean,
true.
The gross that you really should be paying attention to.
Non-domestic yield on these has been very, very high. I think
Huge.
it's something like high 60s, low 70%.
Huge.
Yeah, it's very, very big,
so-
and especially in Asia. Asia's been a big market.
Yeah, so it's just interesting that they'll spend the money to make the movie, you know, and put it out. It'll do fair here, but the international gross is the one to look at, because that's where I think they're going to make a bulk of their money.
No, absolutely. And I actually have a piece with the CEO of the production company who actually is behind these movies, who took a chance on the books. Everybody else passed on adapting the books, and these guys went with it. So that's going to be going up on Forbes on Monday morning once we know the... And she was, 25 years ago, a woman CEO of this production company at a time where, even now, there's not enough representation of women in the industry. She was leading from the front. She's a fascinating, very interesting woman. And that is going up on Monday, so I'll tweet a link to that.
Please do.
So, guys, we've run out of time. Again, unfortunately, a full hour, an hour and 1 minute. But guys, thank you so much for being on the show.
Well,
So,
it
Demetri,
took
first of all,
two people to
yeah, I was gonna,
Sneider.
yeah. Demetri, where can people find you online?
Anatomy of a Movie, and you can find me on Twitter at dmovies1701. At dmovies1701.
You need a little jingle so that way, like, you know, like
Salino
177 cars for kids, like that.
Going back to the musical again.
There we go. There we go.
Is it a musical if we don't dance? I don't know.
At dmovies1701.
There you go.
Abogado. And Brianne, where can we find you?
You can find me at youtube.com/missmovies or on Twitter @missmovies, because I miss movies. I have 2 kids, so I don't get to see them.
They have enough time to do anything. Kinda got your hands full, but doing an amazing job, and your knowledge of the industry is fantastic, and you always bring something. Both of you bring something really interesting.
Tweet
to the
me
discussion.
about Xanadu, please.
Yeah, I know.
Watch
Can we
it.
get behind that? Can we make that already?
We need a
You and
hashtag.
I. People often say that we're the Olivia Newton-John. Of Popcorn Talk, they don't say that.
Okay,
Said that.
they don't.
I'm sorry.
Insert dick joke here.
Yeah, Xana dick joke. It's got to be made. Got to be made.
It was a pleasure working beside you. And again, it's always an honor to be asked to be on this show. It's
great to have you here.
It really is great to be part of this. So
And next
thank
week,
you.
Jeff is going to be back. I will be back. My name is Simon Thompson. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at ShowbizSimon. Brianne Chandler and Demetri Panos, thank you so much indeed.
Nice to meet you, Brianne.
Yeah,
It was awesome.
Guys, that was really, really good. Always good to have different viewpoints. Guys, if you like the show, don't forget to subscribe, tweet about it, tell all your friends, because without a big audience, there's no point in us being here. We're just talking to ourselves. And that, to be honest with you, makes us look like a bloody lunatic. Have a great week. We'll see you next week. And don't forget, interact with us online, post, and do everything. Have a great one. Thanks, guys.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of its owners or principals.